Hey heroes, welcome to On Scene First. I'm your host, Tracy Eldridge. With over 25 years in public safety, I am wicked excited and honored to bring you entertaining, educational, and empowering conversations with public safety difference makers who are harnessing the power of out-of-the-box thinking when it comes to the use of the latest and greatest must-have technology tools, a people-first leadership approach, and mental health resources to save lives on both sides of the call. Before we get started, I would like to thank our hero sponsor, Squad Life, a law enforcement and Army veteran-owned company based in Long Island, New York. As the On Scene First merchandise production and distribution partner that provides quality, custom-made products, fundraising and partnership opportunities, and phenomenal customer service, we are thrilled to share them with the rest of our public safety family. Make sure you check them out at www.squad-life.com and tell them Tracy sent you. Now, on with the show. All right, here we are. Hello, Barry. How are you?
Hello, Tracy. How are you doing? I'm fine.
Good, good. I am wicked excited to have you on. I knew a long time ago that I was going to have you on at some point, and I've been trying to be more intentional on actually doing the things that I say I'm going to do. So there's that. This is what I say all the time. My intentions are always good.
Oh, yeah.
So wicked excited to have you here, but I'm going to go ahead and let you officially introduce yourself. Tell folks your full name, who you are, what you do, and a little bit about your history and maybe why we're, connected here and I want to have you on my podcast. So have at it.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Barry Furey. I come from the third generation of public safety family. My grandfather was a decorated New York City police officer.
Wow.
My father was a fire commissioner for many years in suburban New York. And I have been a fire officer in 3 different states, a 911 director in 4 different states, and
Wow.
have been involved in organizations such as APCO, NINA, and have written a number of articles for many magazines. Right now, I am a contributing editor for Firehouse magazine and also a member of the web team on a site called firefighterclosecalls.com, whose purpose is to provide information regarding accidents and safety and reduce injuries and deaths to firefighters worldwide. So I
Wow.
keep
That's a little, how many hours are in your day? Because I do a lot and that sounds like a wicked lot right there.
it is, and on top of that, I started late in life, so I have one teenager and two more kids, one of whom is 4 years old.
Oh
So
my goodness.
yeah, so I'm busy. I'm busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to have you. I don't even know what direction I want this podcast to go in because you have just such a vast amount of experience in the space. But I first want to start off by saying thank you. I think, as most know that will either follow me on social media or listen to me speak, I talk about the importance of mental health and wellness and the importance of reaching in. So I know that I always say, if you're struggling, reach out, but there is also a lot to be said about reaching in because folks sometimes can't reach out. And I just want to personally thank you for being one of those folks that intentionally reaches in on a regular basis. You check in on me and I just want to say thank you for doing that. And I'm sure you do that with a lot of folks and with a very busy schedule. I just want you to know that means the world to me. So thank you.
Oh, well, you are most welcome. And we come from a culture of givers.
Yep.
At some point, we all have to realize we have limited pools from which to give. So every once in a while, we've got to take that time out
Yep.
and resupply and recharge and take a breath. And I mean, right now, a shout out to everybody who's in the affected area from these hurricanes,
Yeah.
because some of these people have lost homes, uh, have lost just about everything, and are showing up to work every day, trying to help other people. So again, just a shout out to anybody out there who is, keeping it real, keeping it alive, and helping others during this regional emergency.
Oh, it is devastating. And I've been joking periodically in my travels that since August of last year was probably the first of my weather related conundrums. I was in Columbia County when a hurricane hit last August. I went to New Mexico and they hadn't had rain in 100 days, and there was a massive rain and hailstorm. I went to Iowa and a tornado blew through the next town over. Went to Orlando. There was another hurricane, and while I lightheartedly joke about it, I just can't joke about it this time. I just feel like there has been so much devastation to so many groups of people, and so many people are stepping up. And then you have the asshats that are out there being sketchy or shady. And so I know you are located in North Carolina, but when we were chatting before, your area was not as significantly hit as the western part of the state, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I also, prior to coming here, had served in East Tennessee, but even the damage there is a little further east than what would have been my primary responsibility at the time. So it was really the mountains of North Carolina over to the border with Tennessee that has been hardest hit.
Yeah.
Um, what is really devastation. Every day there are some areas that still, a week after the storm, plus there are some areas that haven't been completely explored, and I really do expect the death toll, unfortunately, to rise, and it's
Yeah.
really a burden on the public and public safety just to try to deal with the magnitude of this storm.
Yeah, and I think what is challenging for us also being in the positions that you and I are in is we have a lot of connections on social media. I was thinking about this yesterday morning when I was leaving Idaho. So I attended a conference there, met some wonderful folks, and I hadn't been to that area before, but being so far removed on the other side of the country, I had shared a fundraiser with them that I was doing for our folks on the East Coast. But then it clicked with me that, you know, and going back to the job that you and I do, we're in many different places. So our feeds on social media are inundated with public safety people, public safety entities. And so I do think that some of us see the worst and the devastation more than others that may be removed from those particular areas. Would you agree?
Oh, I would certainly agree. And then there is even the personal spin on it. Again, I have worked several states in the country. I've traveled around. I'm originally from suburban New York, or as I tell people, 3 hours or 30 minutes from New York City, depending upon the time of day you want to try to go in.
Yep,
But I
yep.
heard, yeah, but I heard from a friend from high school days on social media, was able to get in contact with her brother who had retired to the Asheville area. And he was able to go to a local bar that actually had social media service and was able to get out because phone and everything else in that area has been down, and likely some areas will still be down. So I mean, there's that. There are worldwide connections, countrywide connections from people who are reaching out, have not heard from loved ones in
Still.
days, are thinking the worst. And then on top of it, my social media for the past day has been filled with check-ins from people in Florida.
Yeah.
So it's not like public safety is getting a breath
No.
to sit say, oh, wait a minute, we're going to sit and rest today.
Yeah.
And so no,
There's no
because there
rest.
is another crisis popping up just down the road.
Yeah, usually you'll see random people marking themselves safe, and I can't even tell you how happy it is making me to see all of the folks. I just love that feature on social media also, right? Is I have a lot of friends and family down in the Florida area, and as this was being talked about, as Hurricane Milton was being talked about, there's going to be some devastation, and to be up here and feel helpless, it was good to be able to see some of those folks, and I've checked in with folks, and it's just I think it's challenging for us too, because we just want to get in the car and go, right? Like
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
go do something. I don't know what I can do. I started a sticker and a t-shirt fundraiser. If anyone's interested and wants to check it out, all of the proceeds are going to go to first responders in the most impacted areas. And I know, right now we have that Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, Florida, there Georgia, some Georgia folks, some South Carolina folks, and while a lot of times so many folks just want to like jump in and help, sometimes having money later versus the supplies to start rebuilding, and because like you said, so many people have lost everything.
Oh yeah, and we are closer than we want to think to the holidays. That
Yeah,
thanks Christmas or Hanukkah or any of the holidays that occur in the latter part of this year
I didn't
are
even think
going to be
about that.
really, really tough for our first responders.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here. It's October in Massachusetts. I'm looking outside. The sun is shining. It's probably 65, 68 degrees today. The last thing I would be thinking about right here, and many of our folks are probably thinking about, are the holidays. So if the funds that I've been able to raise through this go to first responders to be able to give their family some type of normalcy, then that's what it's going to do. I don't know where it's going yet. I just know that it's going to be going right back to first responders. So yeah, it's a challenging time. It's a
And
challenging
again,
time.
I would certainly ask the folks out there that are touch come across this podcast to support verified
Yes.
charities, donation centers, like Tracy is talking about here, because the one thing, unfortunately, that you come across in these situations are bogus charities popping up from out of nowhere. So again, unfortunately, there are those people who don't want to do the right thing
Correct.
in these situations. So please double check before you give,
Yep.
and give places like Tracy's talking about that
Yep.
go to the people who really need it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Like I've seen so many posts of just random things pop up, and I know, like, so the folks that I'm seeing, I know that they are 100% legit, just because
Yeah.
I know who the people are. Even the folks that are just like, hey, I'm gonna throw a bunch of stuff in my car, and I'm bringing it here, and folks are giving that way, and so give to the people that you know and that
Yes.
are part of your circle that way. Don't ever give to a stranger that way, because you have no idea where that money is going, and we want to make sure that our folks are definitely taken care of, and that folks aren't being scammed, because unfortunately in the
Exactly.
business we know, the business that we do, we know people are scammy, sketchy asshats. There's no other way to put it. So
I think that's a good technical term. I believe that is a universal term.
it is.
You just to be careful, as
Yep.
you said. I think having come from public safety backgrounds, we are probably uber aware
Yeah.
of what can happen in these situations. Would certainly urge anybody who is not directly involved to double check. Even many local districts and jurisdictions are joining in this, and I think you can feel pretty safe with them. But if
Yep.
you don't know,
Yep.
do your due check. Make
Yep.
sure your money, your goods, whatever, your time is going to where it can really help.
Absolutely. And so even so we'll start to switch gears, but I do also want to bring up one of the scams that I've been seeing all over the place. And it just I don't understand what makes somebody just sit there and go, "Oh, all right, I'm going to create this scam." And well, because they know people will fall for it. But one of the things that I'm seeing lately, and I just feel like a big fat ogre when I have to go onto a civilian friend's Facebook page and say, "Oh, by the way, this is a scam, so don't share these things." But the pictures that are being posted in like county yard sale or items for sale things, and they're showing an autistic child that has been found in the woods or a 2-year old that was found, and more of these are popping up now, especially with these storms. And I know that there are some documents or images that some folks have created that actually show like this is how you can tell if these posts are a scam. First of all, I don't think the local police department would be posting a missing child or a found child in a online yard sale group, right? I'm sure you've seen these, right?
Oh God, yeah. They are probably there chasing after the found dog that doesn't have any phone number. That we took him to the vet, but it wouldn't say what vet they took him to. And I tell you, this dog must be the most well-traveled animal I've
Oh
ever
yeah.
seen. In the same day, it's in Pennsylvania and Ohio and Washington State.
Yep.
And there's never any information that can tie this to anything that you could check back or even find the dog if it were yours.
And I don't even like so, and maybe you know this because I do know you write a lot of training articles and such. So, and the reason why I'm talking about this for us, I know a lot of folks in public safety are aware of these, but there are folks that are in our world that will share them, and I will send them a private message and be like, "Hey, just so you know, that's a scam." And I think people just feel, and it goes back to what we were just talking about. I think people just feel compelled to help or to, you
No.
know, and we're just reactive, right? So like, oh my gosh, this is so sad. And there's a little boy, a little redhead, that has been going around the internet for I don't know how long, and an Amber Alert that's been out for like I don't know 20 years. But
Yeah.
to just see folks sharing it, I don't even know. Do you know what the scam is with that?
What I have heard, and I cannot justify it, is that several iterations down the road, that post could be changed to something else. The original post gets changed away from a missing child to perhaps is an advertisement for some goods or services. And it looks like these people then have, given them, oh yeah, this is a reference. I like this. I like this post. So that's
Yeah.
what I have heard, that it can get changed downstream. But I've got to say, you're much more polite than I am because I don't rely on the private message route. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked about this 14 times before, and
Yeah.
oh, here's a picture of a kid that's missing. No, here's a picture of a dog that's found. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, I'm just that type of person. I'll be like, I just don't want to embarrass somebody, but I do get that, the ability to do that. I wish I had that more in me to be more direct, and that's not my personality, but we need both in this world, right? For sure. So I want to go back to your experience. So obviously a good amount of my folks that listen are 911 professionals. You mentioned that you were a director for four 911
Or
centers?
uh,
Four. Where were those geographically? Like what, tell me about those.
they were in New York, again, suburban New York, very close to New York City. Second stop was Champaign, Illinois,
Okay.
which is it's downstate, middle of the state, the home campus of University of Illinois. So we had 50,000 staff and students there on that side, in addition to the townspeople. One of the things that I was most proud of there was starting the 911 service, because prior to that, they had 10-digit numbers, and we had students and staff coming from around the world and around the country. So
Yeah.
to me, one of the greatest things I was ever able to do was to start that number there.
And
Uh,
what year was that?
that was in the late 1980s, around 1989. So, I mean, I will date myself in that I got into public safety in 1970, in the fire side, in 1972 into the 911. Well, at that point, it wasn't 911 by us, but
Right.
into the safety communication side. I was seduced by the dark side for a portion of the early 90s, but got to do consulting work with a public safety computer firm, and as such, got to travel much of the country and even part of the world. So that was fun for a younger guy.
Yeah.
But then I went back to my roots in, again, Knoxville, Tennessee,
Okay.
which is again the home of the main campus of the University of Tennessee. So it was really great to deal with a really, really diverse customer base there in terms of folks you were serving.
Yeah.
And then from then I went on to Raleigh, North Carolina, which is the capital of the state of North Carolina. Again, NC State University here, so I was able to go and live in another community that had all the vibrant energy and opportunities that you have in a major college campus, and again, the capital of the state of Tennessee. And then I
Yeah.
retired a few years back and just kind of started some more writing and some kind of consulting here and there, and becoming a dad. So
Love it.
that's the life story.
And it's almost funny. It's like so you retire and become the dad. That's just the interesting, component of of that piece of usually, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason. Like I'm not a rule follower in many areas, but definitely that's the bulk of your career was really dedicated to the career, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, and that's honestly, Tracy, why I think waited so long to become a dad. Because fortunately or unfortunately, the career was my life.
Yeah.
Uh, I just dedicated so much time and energy to everything public safety
Yep.
that I didn't have time for me. And it's kind of good that maybe it's doing things backwards, but I don't think I've ever been, a slave to the plan, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of how things panned out, and I'm very lucky and I'm
Yeah.
blessed.
Yeah, I know if I could go back in time, I would totally appreciate what I have found for myself these days, where I have been able to. So after spending 20 years in the 911 center, moving to Rapid SOS for 4 years, which went by in a blink of an eye, and I did work a lot. I was traveling a ton, but we had an important job to do, right? So we got the foundation of device-based technology into the hands of 911 folks across the country, saved lots of lives. And then I
Yeah.
kind of branched out to do my own thing with On Scene First. And even there, I hit the ground running and was working a ton and traveling a ton. And then in walks my grandson, my emotional support human. And it's not, if my kids are listening, it's not that I love him more or that I've chose to spend more time with him, but I think I'm just at a place in my life where I am
Yes.
really valuing that work-life balance and scheduling, busy early parts of the year, busy second half of the year, enjoying summers at home. It's important to do that. And I think that's why these days, my days are much happier and I feel better, mentally,
Oh yeah.
physically, emotionally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look great.
Thank you.
I can remember there was times when I was on the road 29 days out of a month. And I remember one month I had an 8-gallon water bill, not an $8 water bill. I had an 8-gallon water bill. I came home washed up and got on the plane in the afternoon and headed in the other direction.
Yep.
Uh, I took my bills with me
Yeah.
to pay because that's the way it was. But it is so nice at this point to be able to kind of pick and choose and sit back and say, yeah, I'll do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I'll do a lot of bit doing a dad.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one thing that I would say the folks who are currently heavily involved in the 911 industry, and whether that is taking calls or running centers or doing whatever you do, is when you get a chance, sit down and take a breath.
Yeah.
Because, it's going to be there tomorrow and somebody else will be along to do it.
Yeah.
And so do what you can and take some of the pressure off yourself and learn to be a father, a mother, a sister, a brother, a friend,
Yeah.
a person. Have a personality outside of. I pick up the phone and say, "Where's your emergency?" or "What is your emergency?" And my God, get a circle of friends outside this business because we're all nuts.
Oh yeah.
Go
Yep.
and find somebody who has their finger on the pulse of real life.
Yeah. And I love that this conversation went here because when folks, I remember up until probably before my grandson was born, and if I had $1 for every time somebody responded to me with this response when I said, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, super busy. I'm so busy. I'm just so busy. Everything's so busy, so busy." I said it all the time. Everybody I
Yeah.
talk to, when I'm wicked busy. I don't say that anymore
No,
because
no.
I've made that decision. So even just recently, right? So podcast is ramping back up. It took a hiatus for a year
Yeah.
because I was doing my ENP study groups. The ENP study groups and the podcast in the beginning, it was just too much on my plate. And so I had to pick one or the other to
Yeah.
be able to have some normalcy or some downtime. And so I chose for that first 4 years ish of On Scene First, and I was doing two ENP study groups a year that were live, which meant that was two 15-week sessions that I was building and adding to each year or each session. And now right now they're archived. So the last live study group is archived. Folks can still access all of the materials there. But now that has been put on pause for the live study groups. And now I'm ramping back up with the podcast because it's something I love doing. And I think folks tried to do it all, and that doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't. And I think what I've learned over time is you cannot save anybody until you save yourself.
Right
You,
on.
you only have so much to give, after which you become the victim in the situation. Nobody has a bottomless tank. You know, it's laudable that you want to reach out and help people. It's great that you want to work 16 hours a day for 6 months straight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's great. And the checking account loves it.
Yep.
I'm sure. But at what point, and everybody reaches it, I don't care who you are.
Oh yeah, I've been there a few times because what happens is I think what happens is too is that if you don't slow down by choice, something else is going to slow you down.
Exactly. I mean, I've been through cancer, I've been through a stroke, I've been through, everything, and I'm still pumping.
Yep.
But you've got to realize that you're not Superman or Superwoman. Everybody at some point reaches a point, and it may be different from you. I'm not saying that, oh, you're ready to, toss it in right now.
Right.
Don't.
Right.
If you're not, don't. But what's the great Dirty Harry line? A man has to know his limitations. And you really do. When you start feeling like something's off, you know what? Listen, something is off. You know you better than anybody knows you. Stop and smell the roses. And there are so many people now. We are so short-handed.
Oh gosh, yes.
Wise. It's disgusting. I mean, I look at some of these numbers out there. There was things put out by Nina and a vendor, I think, that was showing about 82% of 911 centers nationwide are short-handed. And I think that number is only that low because the other 19% of people were too busy to answer the damn survey.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
It's crazy. And we've got to do as an industry something better than we've done. And we have been saying that for 20 years, maybe more. And nothing changes for the better. And the technology that we get that should be helping us inadvertently only gives us new things that we have to learn and new ways that people access us. What's the Nina mantra? Emergency access from any number,
Yeah.
any, and you
Device.
add, yeah, and you add on that from any device, and it just gets to be too much.
Well, and
It
I think if we weren't offloading, I shared with the folks in Idaho, well, in many of my classes, that and nobody ever told me as a baby dispatcher that I need to offload stuff. No, nobody ever said those words. Maybe 7, 8 years into my career, I started hearing like, "Oh, be on the lookout for burnout, and this is what burnout looks like, or this is what mental health stuff could look like." But nobody ever finished the sentence and said, "But if you're experiencing it, this is what
Here's
you
what
need
you
to
do.
do."
Yeah,
And I think we're getting
yeah.
better. I will definitely say we are getting better. We are making it more of a priority. But I do still think that our folks that are in this profession, and sometimes it's by accident, sometimes it's by choice, is that it's the epitome of burning the candle at both ends, in the middle, on the side, on the top, on
Middle.
the bottom. And at what point is the candle just going to disintegrate, right? So, and if there might be somebody that's listening to us talk right now and say, "Oh my, they're talking to me and they're 100% right, that I need to find something to bring my joy back that brings me happiness, because if not, something's going to do it for you, and I don't want your happiness to come at a risk of losing something else."
No, and that is a almost a self-fulfilling prophecy in that the same study, the same survey said about three-quarters of the people that were involved are showing some sort of sign of stress or burnout. And so, on one hand, yeah, you're working a 16-hour shift because there's nobody there and you're helping, and
Yep.
gee, it's getting near Christmas, and that's kind of nice to have the check. But then, and I have to speak as a manager because my later experience in this industry is I'm the one who's trying to keep those seats filled,
Right.
which which is no picnic either. And there have been times, and I am serious about this, where I have gone home and gotten physically sick because I was concerned, number one, for the few people that we had,
Yep.
and number two, for the public, because God forbid we should have a major emergency, we weren't going to handle it. Our people were going to be overwhelmed. The calls were not going to get answered in a timely manner. The information was not going to be passed on to the first responders simply because there were not enough people there to do it. I don't care what kind of cape you wear,
Right.
okay? At a certain point, more calls than more people is kryptonite.
Yeah.
It there's no way around it.
And I think, and if you look at what's happening right now with these storms, right? So we have what was it, 80%? Okay, so 80% of our 911
Yeah.
centers are short staffed. And then while yes, we are building out TERT teams and folks are responding to other agencies, many of those centers are already shorthanded, and now they are honoring the folks that have committed to the TERT. So you not only do you have the folks that are committing to go to these affected areas, you have the folks that are left back in the center that are committed to stepping up to the plate, or maybe they're not even committed to stepping up to the plate, and now they're not happy, right? Like, wait a minute, we were shorthanded, and now folks are leaving. I think there's gonna be a lot of undoing of stuff that we're gonna have to see in the next few months. And I just hope people are realizing that everybody's trying to do the best they can or what they think is the right thing to do, and that that we approach this with kindness and compassion and not anger and resentment.
Yeah. And there's also there's the day-to-day stress,
Yep.
and there is the stress that is put onto telecommunicators during these widespread crises. It's not that it's not bad enough when you have a severe fire in your town where, oh, well, we're calling in, we've used all our fire resources. We're calling mutual aid from departments that we're not used to working with. How do we get a hold of them? How do we get communication with them? But I just, before I got on with you, I read a little news piece from here in Raleigh where they talked to some of the telecommunicators who were taking calls from the mountains 250 miles away. Uh, and they're like, we have no idea where these places are. You know, with building, we're lucky to have a handle on the local street network and
Yeah.
geography. But now you're talking about places we've never been to. They're over 200 miles away. The people that are calling, it just volume, it doesn't stop. They're upset. They've got life-threatening emergencies, and we're kind of clueless about where they are and how to get a hold of somebody to help.
Right. Right. And then you don't even know what the resources are if they have anyone to help. And I remember I did a session with Dan Wright down when he was in Baldwin County, and when they were talking about, one of their major hurricanes that came through, and having these folks having to tell people that I have nobody to send to you. And I don't think I can imagine what that would feel like as a telecommunicator. I've never had to do that in my 20 years in the center. And folks are gonna have to offload this stuff, because I want, if you're listening to me and you have been in one of these severely affected areas, or you're answering the calls 200 miles away, just know that you are appreciated, you are cared about, and we want you to make sure that you're decompressing after this. There are going to be folks that are going to be like, "Nope, I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I'm good. No, it was good. Yeah, I'll just take a couple of days off, and I'm good." And what I refer to that as is sitting in dirty bathwater. Is that is
Yeah.
that when you've been in this place for too long, the water's going to get murky, it's going to get kind of gross, and it's going to cool off. And those folks that are saying they're going to take a couple of days off, all they're doing is letting a little bit of the bath water out, pouring in some more hot water, and saying, "Yeah, I'm good for now." And I want folks to really seek the resources and the help that they need, because I think this is going to be a big recovery for not only the physical aspects of what have happened in these areas, but the mental and emotional toll it's going to take also.
Oh yeah, it's especially, and I would spin that again all the way up the chain of command. If you are listening to, watching this podcast, get your people access to professional help.
Yep.
And I don't care whether it's part of your insurance program for your employees, or if you have to reach out to chaplaincy organizations in the area, get somebody to help.
Agreed.
And, you know, I would go back to within 10 days of establishing the 911 number in this center in Illinois. We had an ice storm that got us a federal disaster declaration. And without a word of lie, people could not put the telephone down without it starting to ring again. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just to that point. And I will also tell you that you be ready to deal with some strange reactions. We brought in counseling after that, and a lot of my telecommunicators were like, why should this is my job? Why are you
Right.
bringing somebody in here? Why should I be ashamed, or why should I admit that I couldn't answer 49 calls in 15 seconds?
Yep.
You've got to deal with all ranges of emotion from your folks who are going to be, this is nothing. I can deal with 100 times worse than this. Why are you even discussing this? To folks who are like, Oh my God, thank you. This is crazy. I need to step away from the console for uh,
Yeah.
hours, if not days. I just can't take it anymore. So, yeah, be prepared for that range of reaction from your people, but don't let it convince you that help is not needed because it is.
Right. Right. And I think given each person, because I always talk about, we talk about living by the golden rule, which is treat others the way you want to be treated. But we also have to incorporate the platinum rule, which is treat others the way they want to be treated. Right. So you
Oh,
have
yeah.
folks that don't feel comfortable talking to someone. And that goes back to, I mean, this could be another whole podcast on this and how passionately I feel about really understanding who your people are and what motivates them, what demotivates them. Are they outgoing? Are they reserved? Because the reserved folks are not going to just, step up, and maybe even the outgoing folks per se, but not everybody's going to want to talk to a stranger about their things. But
No.
maybe that's the person that needs a gift card to a rage room where they can go offload
Yeah.
some steam there, right? Like, hey, let's get with
Yeah.
our rage rooms. Let's get maybe some discount cards and take a field trip, team building, and you got to get it out, because if you don't get it out, it's like being struck by lightning and it's just bouncing around in there doing a ton of damage. There needs to be an exit. So I hope that folks are really realizing the importance of making sure those things are in place, especially over the next couple of months.
And as managers, we only see the part of people's lives that touch us.
Yeah.
We only see people as Tracy, the telecommunicator who's sitting here. Okay. We don't see Tracy, the person who has family,
Yeah.
friends, properties, responsibilities, activities, other friends outside of what is a very, very tiny spot in Tracy's life. And there are other things going on that we don't know about. And some of them our employees don't want us to know about. And
Right.
I understand that. But there are so many things that happen when situations like this overwhelm our senses. There
Yeah.
are just so many balls in the air. At some point, one or more are going to drop. And the best thing that we can do is try to provide some help in catching the ones that haven't fallen yet or picking up the ones that have.
Yeah.
And and we can only touch sometimes the part of people that touch us. Okay, what can we do for you as an employee? How can we reduce your stress here? How can we cope with the trauma you've experienced here? But it's very difficult for us to touch or even know about what's going on outside the
Yeah.
911 center, and that's all part of the trauma.
So in my keynote that I did yesterday, I've done, hundreds of times probably at this point. One of the slides I have in there, as soon as I put the slide up, it says, leave your problems at the door. And I ask the room, how many of you have ever said this or heard it to a new dispatcher? Like, oh, well, this is an important job, and see that door right there? You gotta leave your problems there. You can't bring them in here. And then the next thing I do is I hit that click button, and a big red circle with a line through it comes up, and I say we have to stop saying that. We have to know who our people are outside, to the place where they're going to feel comfortable sharing that, because there are some folks like, nope, I come to work, do my job, go home. They don't need to know anything about me. Okay, great. However, two other important points that you kind of, as you were speaking, that I thought of is, we got to watch people down the road 6 months from now, not 2 weeks, not a month, 6 months, 1 year. Did this employee that was a part of these major events get any type of help that they needed? And now are they much different than they were right now? Because we know this switch does not get flicked overnight. And then the next
Yeah.
point that I need to make is, if you're a frontline telecommunicator, check in on your bosses, on your managers, on your supervisors. Often they don't get the question, are you good? Often they're sitting in their office with their head in their hands, crying, feeling like failures, wondering if they're doing enough, making the hard decisions that may be right, may be wrong. But we all have to check in on each other. We have to bring human back. Like we have to bring back checking in on each other at all levels.
Yeah. I certainly would underline that. Again, like I said, there have been times, and it's not even during a disaster, it's day to day with our staffing crunch the way it's been for decades. I would go home and, the 4 to 12 shift would be coming on, and I'm like, is this all you got? You know,
Yeah.
yeah, this is all we got. So and so's at sick, so and so's this person's on vacation. You go down the list, and the list of people who are not there is almost longer than the people who are. And you go home as a manager, director, whatever, and it just doesn't leave you. You don't shut it off when you go home either.
Nope.
Uh, just like you'll sometimes go home and say, "Oh, geez, wait a minute. On that call I took on Main Street, did
Yeah.
I?" And you might even get on the phone and call back. Hey, can you check the CAD and see if I put this in or change that? And you go home and you're like, my God, I hope when I come in the morning, I don't hear some horror stories about, yeah, we missed this call and somebody died.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I missed this call and somebody didn't get their Big Mac. No,
Yeah.
no,
No, it's just
no,
nope. I
no.
remember my husband is on the fire department, and when I was working in the 911 center, I remember coming home one night and waking him up at like 2 o'clock in the morning going, you need to go to Plum Corner. And he's like, what? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I forgot to tone out a fire alarm. Like, and this was like 4 hours before. And I would assume that if it was on fire, there'd be a problem.
No.
But I remembered that moment of like, oh my gosh, I got the call from the alarm company, and then no sooner did I hang up the phone, 911 rings. It was a medical emergency, a serious
Yeah.
medical emergency, and that call just went whoop, right out of my brain.
Yep. Yep. And it's, and we talk about those things as part of the day-to-day challenges of 911. Now multiply that 1,000 times and look at the people who are dealing with storm-related issues, that it is not just one street or one house or one business. It's not just one neighborhood. It's not just one town. It's not just one community, one county. It's not even one state. It's one region. And who are people going to call if indeed they can get through 911?
Yep. Yep. Well, we are at that time where we need to wrap up. I loved this conversation. I never know where the conversations are going to go. I really don't. Because some folks, I'll ask them to be a guest and they're like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Whatever we're supposed to talk about is just going to reveal itself. And that is what happened today. So, Barry, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate the work that you do. Where can folks find you? I know that you provide a lot. You do some consulting, and I'll just say this too. You and I do very similar things in some areas with consulting. I do consulting. You do some training. I do some training. I am just that type of person that would never look at somebody in that same position as competition. I look at you and folks like me that are doing those things as mission enhancers. So there are places where you can bring so much value into the center where I may not be able to, and vice versa. And so we work and we help each other there. But where can folks find you if they want to check out some of the things that you've written?
It's pretty easy. You can try barryfurey.com, all one word,
That's easy.
BARREY.com. That's as easy as it gets.
Awesome. Well, thank you, my friend. And as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, yes, this is a shameless plug. If you are interested in supporting our first responders in the affected area, please visit my website, onscenefirst.com/store, and you will see that there are stickers and t-shirts there with all of the proceeds going right back into our first responder community. So, Barry, until next time, hero, stay safe, stay strong, and stay here. We need you. Hey heroes, we hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and follow us on our On Scene First social media so you too can keep up with our shenanigans. And make sure you get to know our friends over at Squad Life. You can start by heading over to their social media, giving them a follow, and thank them for being a hero sponsor. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and stay here. We need you.